good to see you. Welcome to the stage. Tell us what you've been up to. I've been talking to a lot of the other lads that have come up here. Everyone seems to be getting to that point where all the training and all the work that's been done in the close season is over. They're starting testing. Glad to be back on the bike. Where are you up to now?
We've still got a bike in bits at the minute.
Well, that's no good. What are you doing here? Still here talking to me? You should have put it back together, lad.
Well, we're still waiting for a few parts coming for a brand new Superbike that we've just built. We only picked the 2014 model up, I think it was January we picked it up from present. And there's a lot of work on it since then. Obviously we're building a full Superbike to factory spec, and everything that we've done on that bike has had to be physically made to fit the bike. There's only the frame and the engine that are standard from out of the factory. Everything else has been made purposely for the bike.
So is it a bit frustrating that, you know, you're thinking, where are we now? Middle of March and end of March, bike's still in bits. You want to be on that bike, don't you? When do you know that you'll be actually physically sat on that motorcycle ready to go?
This time next week.
Really? Oh, you have to be, won't you?
Yeah, we're hoping to be ready anyway. We're still waiting for a couple of sets of wheels and a set of bodywork. We're quite confident we're going to have it ready for next weekend. However, we do have the 600 fully prepared and ready to go for next weekend.
So what's your season looking like from there on in? What are you aiming for? What's your season building towards and centred around? Presumably, is it the TT?
Yeah, our main focus is the TT, so the events before the TT, we're obviously going to Daley the next weekend to get a good setup ready for Scarborough, which is on the 13th of April. And the week after that we go straight over to Ireland for the Cookstown, and then a couple of weeks after that we've got the Northwest 200, which is a real shakedown for the TT. Obviously next week after that is TT. So the whole focus is around that, and then after the TT we'll sort of have a bit of a breather, a bit of a break and relax, recuperate and decide what we're going to do after that.
And how do you keep your focus between, there aren't as many presumably events as if you were racing in something like British Superbikes?
No, there's not as many, but
it's a hell of a way from Daley to the TT, isn't it? I'm trying to think of two tracks or two circuits that could be more different than lovely but sort of a bit windswept and a bit little Daley and the TT, the mountain course, the greatest course in the world.
Yeah, well, it sort of makes up for it in 37.5 miles, doesn't it? Yeah. Obviously, with everything being such a rush, you're always planning, even before this TT, we're planning for next year's TT, because you always run out of time every time. Like last year, obviously I had a big accident at Tandragee, which put me out of the TT last year, so we still had to prepare then for the Manx Grand Prix, which we managed to get there and do well, but even when we got there we found we weren't ready for it. And it's always going to be the case, you're sort of always chasing yourself. Well, that's what we're hoping this year, get to Daley, get to Scarborough, get any of the teething problems out of the way and really attack the TT hard this year.
Now, real roads racers like yourself usually have a preference. I had the great privilege last year of doing a big tour around the UK in theatres with Nick Jeffries and Ian Hutchinson, and talking about every night, talking for 2 or 3 hours. We were like the Bruce Springsteen of chat shows. We did 3 hours. The venues were there trying to turn us out. We just kept going. But I have a preference for racing the clock or racing the other riders. Which is your preference?
Oh, that's a hard question. It's a good question, actually. With the first time being on the mountain course was the Manx Grand Prix last year, and I found it totally different to anything else. Obviously, in practice, so you're in quite a bit of traffic. The Manx Grand Prix, there's a big range of riders that are, slower riders, faster riders, and you see quite a lot of traffic in practice week. But I set off at number 3 in race week and saw maybe one person the whole race, and it's totally different to anything else. It was fantastic because you really can concentrate on what you're doing and enjoy the track. I don't know, I like a bit of bump and grind as well, get a bit of close racing.
I don't want to know about your personal life, we can move on to that afterwards. Let's keep it to racing. But what was it like your first lap? Can you remember the sensation of being there on the start line and then completing that first lap? What was it? Can you put it into words? I don't know if you can. I don't know if anyone can, but have a try.
Depends on whether you're talking about your first practice lap behind the marshals or your first racing lap.
Your first racing lap, lad.
Yeah, that was different. Your first practice lap was a nightmare because there was stones everywhere, people going everywhere, and you couldn't really see where you're going. They give us 1 lap control behind the marshal, and then they give us 1 lap free on our own. And I was sort of a bit like a bunny rabbit trying to cross a road. I was Am I going left? Is it going right? I sort of had an idea where I was going, but you just, until you ride round, no matter how much you go around in the car, no matter how much you go around on the road like this.
Do you think there's any benefit for that? Because we were talking earlier saying John Mack still goes round in a car, in a hired car, at like normal speed. And I think, does that really, I mean obviously he wouldn't do it if it didn't. But would that have any benefit for you, do you think? Or do you think it's just so different from your experience of riding around there on a bike that it's a waste of time?
I think everyone's different and everyone learns in different ways. I tend to learn by sort of doing something practical. John obviously learns by going around in his car. It's hard because John obviously knows probably the most about all of us about the circuit, but he goes around the car, he maybe spots the things that he spots on the bike.
Hey, I know the lad who's done the most laps. The person who's done the most laps of the course. In fact, I mentioned his name 5 minutes ago, Nick Jeffries. We reckon Nick's done more laps than anyone else in TT history because he's been at it for so bloody long. In fact, he's there this year at 60-year-old. Do you think you'll be there at 60-year-old? Say yeah.
Let's get through this year first.
Well, that was going to be my next question. I was going to ask, as a team, obviously, the team sets goals for the season. And it's been interesting to talk to people because there's been no Billy Big Times up here. People have been very realistic about where they expect to finish. Where would you like to think that you're going to get this season? What would you be happy with?
Well, with the way we're running the team this year, it's my own team that we've built. Sort of started off last year and we've grown and grown and grown. Got fantastic sponsors behind us, providing us with the machinery that we need now. So we've got the machinery that we know will finish the race. So to actually finish the race for me would be fantastic. It'll be the first time to get round on the Superbike. So if I qualify on the Superbike and I'm in the senior race and I finish the senior race, I'll be happy.
Well, thanks for joining us today. A round of applause, please, for Daley Mathison. Come on. Thanks for the enthusiastic clapping, chaps. Great. Right, it's a chat from the ACU here. Shall we have... Do you want to come up and do a bit